Good day. Welcome to the Camp Verde Mayoral Candidates Forum on the August 2nd primary election ballot, hosted by the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that does not support or oppose candidates and envisions democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate in the voting process. The League of Women Voters is an organization fully committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, in principle and in practice. My name is Kevin Cook, a member of the League of Women Voters, and I am your moderator for this forum. I do not vote in Camp Verde. The forum is being videotaped by Verde Valley TV for showing on Cable 1, Channel 56, Sudden Link, Channel 2, and Verde Valley TV posted on YouTube. The purpose of this forum is to hear from the candidates on why they want to be your mayor. It is also an opportunity for the candidates to answer questions submitted by the voters to the League of Women Voters prior to this forum. The goal for the forum is fairness, civility, and engagement. I would like to introduce our timekeeper, Mary Gassaway. She is also a League of Women Voters member. Her role is to keep us on time. She has 3 timekeeping signs: a 1-minute sign, a 30-second sign, and a stop sign. She will raise the 1-minute sign and then the 30-second sign to tell the candidates how much time is left, and she will raise the stop sign to signal you to end your current sentence. The format is in 3 parts. There will be opening remarks, there will be a question submitted by the forum, questions submitted by the voters, and then there will be closing remarks. I'd like to introduce to you, on your left is Denise Jenkins, on your right is Reason Shipley. Thank you for coming, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The moderator's role here is to manage the forum fairly for all candidates, with the goal to keep the discussion moving forward. The order of speaking was determined by a totally impartial process. The candidates are to be respectful of each other's points of view and speak their minds freely, not to engage in personal attacks. The candidates will not interrupt each other. Time limits on responses to questions will be strictly observed. If these guidelines are not adhered to by the candidates, the moderator can adjourn the forum. Mayoral position in Camp Verde is a 2-year position with only 2 candidates running, D and Reason. Let's begin the forum with an opening statement from each candidate. D will go first. Candidates get 2 minutes each to tell us why they are running for mayor of Camp Verde and their qualifications and skills for that position. D?
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Good afternoon. My name is Denise Jenkins. I'm a candidate for re-election to the position of mayor. It's a re-election for me. I have lived in Arizona for over 40 years and in Camp Verde for 25. From 1970 to 2001, I was employed by W.L. Gore in their Delaware and Arizona locations. And for the last 20 years plus, I've worked for Quintus, a manufacturing company in Camp Verde. I've served in a variety of capacities, including Chairman of the Board of Directors, Chief Financial Officer, General Manager with additional experience as a computer systems specialist, financial analyst, and purchasing agent. The time at Quintus has given me a unique skill set that has served Camp Verde well as mayor these past 2 years. I have management, leadership, and financial skills that are critical to a well-run community. I was elected to Town Council in 2016, and in 2018, the council selected me as vice mayor. I was elected as mayor in 2020 and am seeking re-election as the mayor of Town Camp Verde. I'm married with children and grandchildren. I enjoy outdoor activities such as long walks and gardening. For many years, my husband and I had performance horses, and we competed in barrel racing and roping. It's been my honor to be your mayor at the town of Camp Verde, and I ask for the vote to re-elect so that I may continue to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Reason?
Well, thank you. My name is Reason Shipley, and I'm running for mayor of Camp Verde. I was born in the state of Texas and raised in Ohio. Throughout my career and life career, I served 10 years in the United States Army as a military police officer. After that, I got on with Brookdale Senior Living and ran the maintenance engineering department for them for all their assets and needs for senior citizens. After that, I got on with Inventures Hotels, where I am currently employed here in the Valley, running operations daily of hotels in the Verde Valley. I am running for mayor because I want to be a part of the change and part of the growth and just part of the fun that we have in our Verde Valley. I stumbled upon Camp Verde years ago when I was bringing a veteran up to Camp Verde to the VFW from Phoenix, and I just fell in love with the town and the people and the community and the businesses. And I am running for mayor, and thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Reason. The league has submitted a question for both of you, and I think I will start with you on this, Reason, if
Sure.
I may. The question reads, as Verde Valley continues to grow, what does growth look like to you in your city? Specifically, tell us what you would plan to do in your elected role.
I think the growth of Camp Verde is sometimes a touchy subject, and I hear from both sides, some don't want the big growth, some do. In my vision, the growth of Camp Verde, we do need to grow. How big? That's the question. I think that Camp Verde definitely needs more options on shopping and dining, so they're not commuting to Cottonwood all the time or Prescott. We need to make sure that we have the right resources for the growth. Our water, our partners in electrical, also our law enforcement. Do we have enough law enforcement? Do we need more law enforcement? So if I'm elected mayor, I will make sure that however the voters want to grow and how we grow, that we will grow with all the resources at the same time that we need, and make sure that we have the right resources in place for the growth. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Dee.
Thank you. Thank you. My goal as mayor is to keep working with developers to build affordable workforce housing. Additional shopping choices, such as another grocery store, which we desperately need, more restaurants and retail stores, and to encourage new business and support of existing businesses that will provide job opportunities. It is critical that we form partnerships with our businesses that will strengthen our community and provide much needed tax revenues that will sustain critical services to the community. As a past member of the Workforce Development Board of NACOG, I know how important it is to have available workforce. And I just recently, within the town of Camp Verde, they took a first step in the opening of the Business Resource and Innovation Center. And a giant step will be the new meat processing facility, land donated by Mr. Andy Garcetta in cooperation with U of A, Yavapai College, and funded by the state of Arizona, $9.7 million. This is exciting that we can provide job opportunities for the citizens of Camp Verde. But any growth must be managed and balanced with and follow the guidelines of the voter-approved general plan. It is my guideline on everything that I do as mayor and how I vote. Citizens want council's decisions to be based on maintaining rural, western, friendly, historic, and small town atmosphere. In addition, I'm always mindful that development must not compromise our natural resources, open spaces, and the river must be preserved and protected, and that our parks, trails, historical sites must be maintained but available to the public. Citizens, I want them encouraged to participate in the government through comments and questions, and I look forward to continuing in service to the community to finish the work I've begun. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. The voters in your area have submitted some questions to us. The first one, a fairly quick and simple question. How much time will you have, Dee, to devote to being the mayor of the city?
Well, I can probably speak from experience on that. Currently, now, on a week that I don't have too many meetings where I'm responding to questions and emails, follow-ups, it's about 10 or 15 hours a week, which I manage quite well, I think. There are times when it can be a really busy week where I'm attending meetings in the county or throughout the Verde Valley, and that could be 20, 25 hours a week. I actually look forward to it. I balance that with working part-time still at Quintus. It keeps me up to date with the economy and the world at large. But I really enjoy the last couple of years. My role as mayor, it's very much different than as council. There's more things to do, more relationships to nurture, and I very much like it, and I hope to continue to spend about the same amount of time, if not more. I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you. Reason?
If elected mayor, I plan on spending as much time as I need. I am going to hold a full-time job, but I will be available to the constituents and the town of Camp Verde at any time. I do plan on spending 4 hours a week with different departments, checking in on them, seeing how they're doing, spending time with our law enforcement and our marshal, and always have a 24-hour open line to our marshal for any emergencies, and be available pretty much all the time for the town for anything that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is a budgetary question, and the question goes in the following vein. We're uncertain of our economic future. We're in a inflationary period that could be recessionary. I know that Camp Verde has a certain budget. How would you manage that budget in a downturn economic situation?
Oh,
please.
Okay, I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, we're working on budget right now, like every other community. Oh, is that okay?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we're working on the budget right now. You know, we have restrictions on our budget and sticking to our budget and not going over budget. If throughout the year we do have a downturn in revenue, then we have to make adjustments to our expenses. And Camp Verde has done that quite well in previous downturns like 2008. You know, it may be layoffs, it may be lesser hours, spending less money. But we always have to work within our budget, what's available to us. And we just have to, as council, of course with management's recommendations, make the decisions that we need to stay within budget.
Thank you. Reason I'd ask the same of you, talk about budget. What might you foresee if there's an economic downturn? Where would you might have to cut back, scale back?
Absolutely. If I could repeat what Dee said, I would. But absolutely, like, we have to stay within the budget and have to look at the budget. And if we get to a point where we're going to have to reduce that budget, we're going to have to look at our departments, where we can cut from and what we can cut from. Our spending, are we overspending? What's priority? And prioritize and not just freely spend. And budgets is something that I'm used to. You know, running hotels and building million-dollar hotels where budgets are important, and so I'm not afraid of budgets, and I'm also not afraid to cut where we need to. And we hate to do it. We hate the word layoff, but if we have to do that in order to save on our budget, we would have to do that.
Understood. Thank you. Let's start with you, Reason, on this one. Growth is a big issue in Camp Verde and all over the Verde Valley. What do you envision happening in Camp Verde? What are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to not do in Camp Verde as growth increases?
So for the ones out there that know me, they know that I'm about small growth. I'm about keeping Camp Verde the western little town with a home, hospitality, loving feeling. However, we do need to grow a little. Like the mayor said, we need another grocery store. We need more options for shopping. I've talked to a lot of constituents, and sometimes because of their health or because of their needs, they can't go to Cottonwood like we can every day to Walmart. For them to go to Prescott, just to go get the simple little means. It's hard for them. And so we need to look at that, and we need to prioritize what we need. But like I said again, when we do that, we have to look at the whole picture, and we have to make sure that we're ready for that growth. I'm not about big growth. I'm not about skyscrapers and big homes and complexes and apartment buildings. However, we do need to look at affordable living. We have a lot of people that they want to live in Camp Verde, and they want to work in Sedona and the village. And so we have to make sure that we have affordable homes here for them to live, and the needs that they need to raise their family and enjoy living in Camp Verde and spending more time in Camp Verde. Because if we have that extra grocery store or that dine-in restaurant, then people's going to stay in Camp Verde, and the revenue's going to stay in Camp Verde and not go elsewhere. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Dee.
Well, growth is, as Reason says, a touchy subject, because we desperately need growth so that we provide job opportunities. Growth also gives us the revenues that we need to maintain the town. I keep going back to the general plan. It really gives us a guideline on what the citizens expect and where they want us to grow, which is our 260 I-17 corridor, or we are the only municipality that has the opportunity zone, and that's exactly where you're seeing the growth occur in Camp Verde, because that is such a tax benefit to developers. But we've struggled with affordable housing. We've had a few developments go in, but I don't think by any means it's really answered the question and solved the problem with affordable housing, workforce housing. We still need to work on that with our developers in that area. Absolutely, within the general plan, it's described character areas. They're there for a reason. That's to maintain neighborhoods as neighborhoods, and not as industrial commercial areas. So we must follow the general plan, and council has to make decisions based on the general plan, which is what the voters want. They want us to develop out there in the 260 I-17 area. And like I said, we continue to do it. You've seen quite a bit of growth in the last couple of years, but there is so much more to do.
Thank you. Touching on something from the candidate forum earlier, you have a growth economic zone, and you have big box stores going in on 260 and pushing people out to the, that the previous candidates were very concerned about old downtown, and the more availability you have to goods and services at less money out on 260 than going downtown for something. How, Reason, how would you think about what you could do to grow the downtown infrastructure as well as accommodate the growth zones and the 260 stuff?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So my vision is that the downtown of Camp Verde, keep downtown Camp Verde old Western. However, we have great little businesses there that a lot of people, they don't know about. And we got great little restaurants there that sometimes I hear there's no place to eat in Camp Verde. Well, there is. We got 2, 3 great little breakfast, lunch places right in Camp Verde, right downtown. I've had the idea, and it's been mentioned to me about doing like the old town community events more often, the block parties, getting people down there, doing events for the community to come to downtown, especially some of our new residents, getting them out and getting them active in downtown so they can see what we have, and also growing downtown with some of the empty space with some of them rustic older businesses. But absolutely, we gotta help our businesses that are already downtown thrive. But I think a little revamp of downtown and little activities more downtown to get the community out, I think that would help boost the economy for downtown. Thank you for the question.
You bet.
Well, I couldn't agree more. We've had a lot of discussions at council. How do we make downtown more vibrant? How do we better support the business and bring more business downtown, fill those empty spaces? We need a better plan. We need a marketing plan to help and support those businesses. One of the first steps is we have an old Circle K building right there at the beginning of Main Street. To me, it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
It's not a grand opening for Main Street. It has been, I guess I could say, a pet peeve of mine to get that torn down. And fortunately, it will come down in July. And I think that's a great first step in showing that we're supporting our businesses. We're going to make it more welcoming as you first come into Main Street by tearing that down. And we continue. When I say we, I mean council and staff, because we have to work together with the businesses to show that we're supporting them, put up some advertising, put more on the internet, more information coming from I-17 and 260. Before you ever get to Main Street, you need to know what's available on Main Street. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that answer. As a resident of Sedona, it took me a year to find downtown Camp Verde. And I can name, in my mind's eye, one restaurant downtown. So I'm not very familiar. I've not been introduced to that. I've been there several times and wish I knew a little bit more about that. But getting some information to us locals who would gladly come down there to find out what downtown is about. So just recently, Camp Verde signed an agreement with the Yavapai Apache Nation. Dee, can you describe what that arrangement is and what the benefits and the drawbacks might be to Camp Verde?
Well, it's complex and it's lengthy. I'll try and summarize it. I was fortunate enough as mayor that I participated in the process these last 2 years. As many people know, it's been a negotiation, an ongoing negotiation for many, many years through many, many councils. We were very lucky to get, I guess, close the deal this year. As you know, though, it still needs congressional approval. This is just the agreement between the town of Camp Verde and the Yavapai Apache Nation. And what it does is the Yavapai Apache Nation is doing a land swap with the Forest Service. It's a dollar for dollar swap. And the reason why they wanted Camp Verde involved in this is it would go a long way in Congress to know that we support that swap. And that swap, the land that they're going to get, will help them provide more housing and more reservation land for them as their population increases. And it's along the 260 corridor. So Camp Verde's concern was that's our development and growth corridor in 260. So we had always planned that would be a revenue source, a taxation source for us. So the agreement was that they will pay us the sales tax that we would have normally received had we developed it. The most important thing about the agreement is the unity that we're showing going forward on how we're going to work together to develop those lands, to support each other's economic growth, that we are not going to be at odds with each other, that we will work together and have committees throughout the year that we support the growth and that we don't duplicate it.
Thank you. Reason, talk about that same subject, the agreement and what you see as its pluses and minuses.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. You know, the Yavapai Apache Nation has the right to grow just like Camp Verde, and we need to work together as a team. You know, my heart is very well and dear to Native Americans and their cultural, and I'm gonna work with them hand to hand and build a great relationship and see how we can work together. There's a lot of opportunities out there that I think we're missing out on, where we could be working with our neighbors. And so if elected mayor, that's going to be one of my major goals, is building that relationship that's already being built, but continuing that relationship and continuing the growth for the nation as well.
Thank you very much. Sustainability is always a large subject in any room in any city. Reason, talk about being able to preserve the resources of Camp Verde in the face of, you know, the small growth that you're advocating.
That's a Good question, and a hard one. First of all, we have to preserve our history of Camp Verde, which we have, and we've done a great job. And Dee's done a great job preserving that, and the mayors before her have done a great job of preserving the history and adding to it. And you know, we got to preserve our river. That's very important to all of us and everyone that lives in Camp Verde. And so we have to make sure that we're not going to disturb any of our history just to build a shopping center or to build a gas station. And so that will be one thing that myself and council hopefully will take to heart and make sure that we're not disturbing any of our history that we're preserving. And maybe we can add to our history. You know, talking about downtown, some of them buildings downtown have been through quite a bit. We have one building that was a settler store. You know, nice plaques outside, maybe, advertising the history of the buildings and a little bit about what happened here on this date, and little things like that. I think we can preserve our history and also protect our growth that we're going to be growing, but it also might bring people back downtown again. So it's just a conversation that we all have to have, but yes, protecting the history of Camp Verde is very important.
Talk about sustainability in your mind, Dee.
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit to the Yan Agreement and sustainability. Just having the cooperation with the nation who predates all of us, you know, their land rights, their historic water rights, learning from them their respect for our natural resources. That was very much a learning and humbling experience for me. The fort, we continue to support the fort and learn about the fort and keep it viable for everybody to visit. Another piece for me in keeping Camp Verde rural and western is the town support of the new Equestrian Center. I don't know if you all have been out there. It's a very unique partnership. It's a private-public partnership. I don't know too many of those that have been to this extent, and it's an extraordinary facility. It complements the sports complex right next door to it. And again, it's about bringing families together, getting kids outside, and showing our appreciation of our surroundings and teaching that to our children.
Nice. Continuing with you, and then I'll come back to Reason. Sustainability is a lot of things. Should the city, the town of Camp Verde, be investing in public solar? When I say public building solar, should they be increasing emphasis on, you know, lessening water use, and how would is there a budget for that? How would you do that?
Absolutely. Of course, I'm an advocate of solar. We purchased solar to help with the operation of the sewer treatment plant. And speaking of the sewer treatment plant, as many people may or may not know, it produces A+ water, which in turn is what we're using to water our sports complex. That way we're not depleting water from the Verde River or the aquifer. To me, that helps in sustainability. We have to continue in Camp Verde to, when we're developing, to reduce the number of septic tanks. We have a great facility and to capture the sewer water and bring it back through and reuse it. So reducing the number of septic tanks, again, will protect the Verde River and our aquifer. We are going to move the sewer out to 60. That's another project of ours to extend that. And that is very much supported by the Yavapai Apache Nation, because we all want to protect the Verde River. We need that to be sustained and preserved for eternity, for our children, for our grandchildren. Our regular infrastructure, as in our water and other services, we recently bought the water company so that we can protect and ensure that water is available to our citizens, and it gives peace of mind to our developers that we want to come, that are good, clean manufacturing, for example. Solar, I don't know too much about solar other than I know that we use it at the sewer treatment plant, like I said. I would like to see more electric stations, plug-ins. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk about the adding solar in the city budget to public spaces, public buildings, and water reduction use, in public spaces. What's the city's responsibility there?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of responsibility that we have that we can reduce costs of wasting power and water and protecting our carbon footprint. And I once again be working with the reservation next door, getting their ideas and their plans and working together. But absolutely, if we can budget in to put solar lighting on some of our public areas, I would be for it. Absolutely. Also with our water department, I'm all for coming up with different ideas and ways of making sure that we're not wasting water, making sure that we're detecting leaks right away, making sure we're repairing them correctly and right away. All that's going to save us money. And the more money we save, the more money we can use for our town. But when it comes to solar, absolutely. If we can afford it, I don't think it would happen overnight. I think it would be a plan that would be several years down the road, planning different stages of it. But by all means, I'm for it. Also, making sure that our public areas that are used by the citizens are on timers, so we're not wasting power, not wasting water, and that's very important. So yes, thank you for the question.
You betcha, you betcha. The river is a big part of your community, the general area. What concrete, specific things can the town do to help mitigate problems that you're experiencing with the river? I'll go with Dee on this one.
Well, that's a tough one. We currently work with like Friends of the Verde River. We support their organization in their care of the Verde River. Directly with the river, I think some of the things that the town can do is to use our water wisely, to make sure that we're not depleting the river, that we're not polluting the river. 17 miles of the river flow through Camp Verde. Most of all the cities and towns in the Verde Valley, 17 miles is the largest amount of water that flows through. We very much cherish the river. We have river days when the river's up. Right now it's very, very low. It's very concerning. But we can't regulate the irrigation companies. We can only work with the SRP and our water rights and work with the Yavapai Apache Nation to make sure that the water continues to flow. Thank you.
No, thank you. Talk about the river. Are there things that can be done to enhance? Is there tamarisk growing on the banks? Is there pollution control monitoring? What's your knowledge of all of this?
Well, I'm going to go back a little old school, I think, on this. And back when I was a kid, where you got out and you volunteered, and you walked your riverbank, and you picked up garbage, and you went fishing, and you just used it, and you fell in love with it. And before long, you owned it. And you would never find any trash or pollution, or everybody just treated it like they owned it. And so, yeah, I would be working with the public, coming up with events that, with the Friends of the Verde River that we work very well with. I know the mayor and the council, they work very well with them now, and I would continue that relationship. But I think we could have volunteer days where we get out and we have fun, and we pick up garbage, and we educate our community and educate ourselves, work with Parks and Recs, see if they can put something together where the community will know what to look for and how to handle it. And the more we get the community involved protecting our river will be pretty much self-protected, because everybody out there on our river will be looking to protect it. And if they see anything, people polluting or dumping, absolutely call it into our marshals. We have a great marshals department, and they would respond to that right away. And thank you for the question.
You betcha. Earlier alluded to was recreation, open space, general opportunities to get outside and enjoy public land that is under the control of Camp Verde. Talk about your vision for what you have and what else you want in that recreation area.
I'm right there with the voters and the citizens of Camp Verde. They have spoken for many years that they want more recreational activities. They want sports fields for their kids. They want to be able to enjoy the outdoor spaces, which is why, you know, the town bought that 100 and some plus acres out there off of 260. The unfortunate part is it's taking us more than a decade to open the doors. They have been open. One of the fields is open, but there's so much more to do, and I'm so excited that, you know, within a year, possibly by this time next year or spring of next year, the ball fields will be open. The vision is pickleball courts, also, oh yes, pickleball courts, tennis courts, concession stand, maintenance building. What's very exciting for me is the A+ water will ultimately, instead of being pumped, will go into a 10 million gallon pond that will flow down to the fields. That pond, if you can think about Dead Horse State Park and the pond that's out there, it will be a pond that, you know, kids could go up there and fish. That's our vision. I'm so excited about that. It's going to be years, but if you know, when that's completed, it is going to be a primo event for all of the families in the Verde Valley. And right next door, to balance that, is the Equestrian Center, which offers all kinds of rodeo. It offers race cars, bumper cars, and they just recently saw that they have overnight parking for people traveling with horses. I can't be more excited about our outdoor activities and supporting our trail system, which Camp Verde has done really quite well in developing our trails. So all of those things the families have asked for, and they're right there, and we continue to expand on them. Thank you.
Sure.
Absolutely. Recreation's important. Getting out. I remember when we were kids, if we weren't home before the street light came on, we were in trouble. Now it's hard to get your kids out. So yes, that is very important. A lot of constituents are asking for frisbee golf and pickleball, and some of that stuff is already in the works that the mayor and council already has in the works. And it's a great facility. If you haven't been out there, please go out there and enjoy that facility. But let's partner with our partners next door at BLM. You know, a lot of people in Camp Verde have ATVs and dirt bikes, and let's work with our partners in the county and the surrounding area and promote, you know, the ATV trails and the safe practice of ATVing, camping. We got a lot of camping around Camp Verde, and a lot of trails, hiking, and if we just all partner together, and we could be more physical fit outside and the activities outside. And I would just continue where Dee and the council has left off if I'm elected, and on the sports complex. It's something that doesn't need to be messed with. It's a beautiful design, a beautiful plan, and it's going to be used for many, many years by our families. Thank you.
Nice, nice. Camp Verde is kind of at the center of the Verde River, and could have a leadership role in maintaining the river, the Friends of the River, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of leadership role could you take on, Reason? What would you do to, you know, be the guiding light here?
Absolutely. Once again, the river is very important, not just to us, but I mean, a lot of people in our state depend on the Verde River. And it is our responsibility, most of it coming through Camp Verde, a lot of it coming through Camp Verde, to maintain it and make sure it's safe and that it's being used the right way and not being taken advantage of. And one way we can do that, again, is getting community support, educating the community on why the river is important. that it's not a trash dump. You know, it's not a place just to go dump your oil and your antifreeze, and educate them, and also putting controls in place, and seeing the department that we have looking after it, make sure that they have the resources and the education and the tools they need. And if we need to add more to that, then absolutely, we will. But we need to just educate, monitor. I think would go a long way on the river. But if we needed to be more strict and check on the departments that look after the river and put more controls into place, then we would have to look at that. Thank you.
First thing that came to my mind was education. To me, it's education on how to care for the river, what the do's and don'ts. So much of the river, though, is privately held.
Right.
So we have to work with our partners that work with all the various homeowners to make sure that we keep the river flowing. We keep the wrong kinds of plants and trees gone. I attended a meeting, and if I remember right, what uses the most water out of the Verde River are all these trees that have grown up along the banks. If you ever look at the Verde River 50, 100 years ago, it does not look like it looks today.
No.
It's open, it's clear, and today it's just so overgrown with trees that's sucking the water out. So we need to educate and work with partners like the Nature Conservancy, Friends of the Verde River. I'm sure there's a whole lot more that can help us keep that river clean, get it flowing, and make sure that the fish and the fauna that's supposed to be there are there, and the things that aren't supposed to be there are gone.
Thank you. Reason. What are your top 3 priority issues for the city?
That's a good question.
Sorry.
You're thank you for that. Top 3 priority issues. Well, I don't know if I have 3 top priority issues. I do have 3 top priority things that I would want to look at, and one is our marshals. I want to make sure that they have the amount of staff that they need, the education, the training, how we can help them, and by doing that, I would of course have a great relationship with our wonderful marshal. We have, in my opinion, one of the best marshals in the state. But just working with him and his department, working with all the departments. As far as issues, I just want to make sure on day one that any outstanding issues, maintenance or water waste or anything that we're doing that needs to be taken care of, that we're taking care of it, finishing up all the loose ends of anything moving forward, so we don't have any big major issues moving forward. I think that the maintenance in Camp Verde has been doing a wonderful job. I've hung out with some of the departments already and got to spend some time with them. And if elected mayor, like I said before, I'm going to spend 4 hours a week with a different department each week and dedicating that time. And that's not on top of the meetings and the special meetings and everything that Mayor Jenkins has been doing and the council's been doing.
Great, thank you. I'll pose that to you now, Dee.
Okay. And I agree with the departments. I spend a great deal of time in the park. If you really want to know what's going on, what the needs are, where the shortfalls are, go to the source. So, and just a great bunch of folks to work with. I guess one of my goals came out of a work session that we had with council and with department heads a few months ago, and that was shortly after we knew that we were going to acquire the water company. So the department heads gave presentations on their needs, what their infrastructure needs were, what their fixed asset needs, their people needs, and council sat back and we looked how the town is organized, how we're laid out. And we had recently got the census and found out we're the largest people-wise, and well, we know we are land-wise in the Verde Valley. So I posed the question, is the town set up, organized to keep up with the growth that we're facing? what does the town need? Are we organized to meet the citizen needs and the infrastructure needs? And what we're doing now is we are reorganizing, developing new departments, bringing on new positions. We're going to add 10 people to staff. This is really unheard. We have the largest budget that we've ever had, and this is all to make sure that we meet the citizens' needs, as well as being able to maintain the growth that we're seeing.
Great. One last general question before we get to our closing statements. What would be the shining star you could pin on your vest at the end of your 2-year appointment as mayor? What would you hope would be your number one accomplishment?
Me? Oh, my number one yeah, I don't know. I just, at the end of the day, for me personally, it's that I've put more in the pot than I've taken out. I've given back. I felt like at the end of the day, I made a positive effect on somebody or on something. There's always so many projects to do, and I've been very, very fortunate in the last 2 years, absolutely fortunate that there were years of councils that tried to buy the water company. It got done. I'm not taking sole credit for that, but I am so proud of everybody involved in that, as well as the Yan agreement, as well as opening up the park. But that's just the beginning. Those things are just opening up the door for the next step. So it's just keep moving forward, sticking to the general plan, doing the best we can for the citizens to meet their needs as outlined in the general plan, keeping us a small town, but making sure that they have what they need in healthcare, in business, in stores, and in recreation.
Thank you. Mr. Shipley.
So thank you. So, like, to repeat Dee, like, there's no I in team. It's teamwork. So for either one of us, if we're mayor, to put that gold star on us wouldn't be fair. And my priority is just making sure that we get things done that the community wants done, making sure that we're listening to our constituents, making sure that we're listening to our business owners, making sure that we're listening to the businesses that want to come in, and continuing the growth plan that's set forward, and maybe adjusting it here and there where needed. Nothing's perfect, and so when we start a plan and a project, it's handed down to the next mayor and council, you know, and just keep it going. And so that's kind of a tough question about pinning a star. I don't think the star would go back to the community and back to the voters, and Dee and I both agree on that. And but it's just doing what the voters want and keeping them happy. And at the end of the day, if I can keep the majority of the voters happy and the constituents happy and the businesses happy and the visitors happy in Camp Verde, then at the end of the day, I can smile and say, let's do it again tomorrow.
Nice, very nice answers. Thank you, folks.
May I say just?
Yes, absolutely.
This is what's important. The organization chart for the town of Camp Verde, the block at the top is the people.
Yep.
And we can never ever forget it. It's the people, then it's the council, then it's staff in the town. That's who we relate to, and that's who we work for, is always the people.
Absolutely.
Reason you get your own time there if you want.
Absolutely. I mean, if it wasn't for the voters, we wouldn't be here today. The voters have asked us to come here today and speak and answer their questions, and that's what we're here for. And I know personally, Dee, she answers questions for the voters. She's there for the voters, and I will be too. And it was actually an honor, Dee, to be asked to come here today with you. And I couldn't ask to run against a better person. That we have a lot of the same visions when it comes to the voters, and they're number one. Our constituents are number one. We work for the people.
Well, let's move on to our closing statements. Usually I say a minute, but we have plenty of time here, so feel free to take whatever time you need for your closing statements. If my memory serves me correct, it would be your turn, sir, to go first here.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to thank the league for inviting us here today, and I'd like to thank the mayor for taking time out of her busy schedule to be here. And if elected mayor, I just want to do the best for the voters. I'm not a politician. I'm a Camp Verde resident, taxpayer, just like you, the voters. And I just want to work for you, and I want to listen to you and try to accomplish as many of your needs as possible. I want to work with all of our partners around the town and around the county and our neighboring towns and cities. I want to have an open relationship with all the mayors in the area and all the councils in the area, and work with our sheriff's department and our police department in Camp Verde and our fire department, Copper Canyon, work with them, have a great relation with them, and always just have an open door for not only the town of Camp Verde, not only the council of Camp Verde, but also all of our neighbors. Because once again, I believe in strong leadership, but there's no I in team, and it doesn't take one person, it takes the whole town, the council, the constituents, it takes the Yavapai Apache Nation, it takes, believe it or not, Cottonwood and Camp Verde and Jerome. It takes all that to run right down into Camp Verde. And if I'm elected your mayor, I will be working digitally with everybody. I'll be available for any major emergencies, or I'll be available 24 hours a day for our marshal's department if they need anything, now that the marshal's under the direction of the mayor. If they need anything, I'll be at the beck and call of them. I think it's very important that we first make sure that our town is protected with our law enforcement, and they do such a great job, and couldn't have been more proud to be, a member of this community with a great marshal department. And if elected mayor, I'll just do my best and always be available to you, the voters. Thank you, and don't forget to come out on August 2nd and vote. I won't tell you who to vote for, but just come out and vote. Thank you.
No, thank you, folks.
Thank you, Reason.
Wonderful. Well, thanks to all the candidates for your participation in the forum, and to you, our listening audience, and for your attention and participation. And thanks to Verde Valley TV for hosting us here at their studios. Remember, Election Day is August 2nd, the last day to register to vote. To change your party resignation or update your address is July 5th.
You need to
So-
do
She didn't do a closing.
mayor for a chance to end.
My apologies.
That's okay.
I'm like looking at her, I'm like, you didn't do a closing.
Oh. Is it okay? Should I?
Please,
Okay.
please, your closing statements.
Nice to actually meet you, Reason. We haven't had a chance to really talk very much.
Correct.
So, it's my pleasure, my
Me
honor
too.
to be
Mine
here
too.
as well. Thank
Mine
you.
too,
I
Madam Mayor.
appreciate that. When I ran for mayor last time, I made a couple promises to myself, and that was I was always going to be true to myself. I was going to give my best effort every single day. I was always going to respond to every single citizen comment, question, complaint, and I've done that. So I'm very, it's just important to me that the citizens feel like they're being heard, because that has been complaints in the past years that they didn't get called back, and that's something I've done and I'm going to continue to do. But I have just a couple closing sentences here. And it's very much, I think we have so much of the same ideas. So in closing, I love the friendly people, rural Western lifestyle, and natural resources of the Verde River that make up Camp Verde, and want to continue to build on relationships I've developed these past 2 years. Relationships with the Yavapai Apache Nation and other local, county, state, and federal entities. I believe that Camp Verde gets noticed and remembered when grants and other monies become available. These monies and grants are absolutely necessary to any large projects that we must do in the town of Camp Verde. As mayor, I've gained considerable knowledge of how the town operates, the services provided, availability of infrastructure and facilities, and where improvements are needed to support our growing community. Much has been completed, but there is so much more to do. My job is not done. I ask for your vote of support in re-electing me so I can finish many of the things I've started and look forward to new projects on the horizon. It's just been my real pleasure being mayor. It's been a learning experience. It's very different than a council member, but I have to say I'm very much happy with how I've tried to be mayor, how I've worked at being mayor, and for me it's been very rewarding in what's being accomplished, but the most rewarding for me in all of it is the people I've met, the relationships I've been able to build that help us accomplish what we need to in the town of Camp Verde. I'm very much an introvert. I had to step out of the box to be mayor, but I can't tell you how I've enjoyed just meeting the folks and getting to know their needs, and as well as outside of the town of Camp Verde, everybody in the Verde Valley and how they support what Camp Verde's doing. I just can't say how much I so enjoy being mayor and how much I absolutely love living in Camp Verde. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else I've forgotten?
Oh, no,
My apologies
sir, don't
for
worry.
that.
And thank you so much.
Yeah. So I want you all to remember the election day for the primary election is August 2nd. The last day to register to vote, to change your party registration, or to update your address is July 5th, coming right up. Early voting ballots will be mailed out beginning July 6th. Completed ballots can be returned by mail or dropped off at an election location in Camp Verde. I believe there's two. There's at least one, and there's one at the Yavapai as well.
There's a drop box right there at Town Hall. That
Town Hall.
Right.
Yeah, right there at Town Hall's a drop box.
There's, okay.
There's one at the Nations.
Yeah, there's one at the Nations.
At the Nation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you could take it to the county elections office if you choose. Mail, drop boxes, office. If you are registered as an independent voter, you can vote in this election. When you go to your polling place, you will be asked to designate which party ballot you prefer. If you are an active early voter, you should have received a form from the county office which allowed you to select the party ballot you wish to vote. A ballot will not be mailed to you indicating your ballot choice if you are an unaffiliated voter and have not submitted this form. You may also make your choice by contacting the county election office by phone, email, or through the early ballot request website for Yavapai County. Thank you, candidates, for being part of this forum.
Thank
And
you.
to all the voters, remember, vote. Vote is people power. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.